Aduke was a beautiful woman living in the heart of Lagos, a bustling city where the sound of car horns blended with the constant buzz of life. She had charm, wit, and grace that attracted many suitors. Men admired her everywhere she went, but Aduke had a secret ambition: to marry 5 husbands. In Lagos, such things were unheard of, but Aduke believed she was different. Her friends laughed at her idea, saying it would bring only trouble. But Aduke smiled, confident in her plan. The first man Aduke married was Tond, a wealthy businessman. He lived on Victoria Island, with a house overlooking the ocean. Tond adored Aduke and showered her with gifts, but he had no idea about her secret plan. Aduke made sure their marriage appeared perfect, but in the back of her mind, she was already preparing for her next husband. After a year, Tond noticed something strange. Aduke would often leave home without telling him where she was going. One evening, Tond followed her and saw her meeting another man. His heart raced with jealousy, but he decided to wait before confronting her. Aduke, sensing his suspicion, knew it was time to be careful. Yet, she had no intention of stopping her plan. Aduke's second husband, Beo, was a popular musician. They met at one of his shows, and he was instantly captivated by her beauty. Beo lived in Lekki, where the nightlife was always vibrant. He had no idea she was already married. Aduke charmed him into marriage, and before long, she was splitting her time between Tond and Beo, skillfully managing both relationships. Aduke's life became more complicated as she tried to juggle 2 husbands. Tond wanted her home more often, while Beo wanted her to travel with him on tour. Aduke used her wit to navigate the 2 worlds, telling each husband she had business meetings or family emergencies. But Lagos was a small world, and Aduke knew it was only a matter of time before her secret unraveled. While managing her 2 husbands, Aduke met Jide, a tech entrepreneur. He was impressed by her intelligence and grace, and after only a few months, he proposed. Aduke hesitated, knowing adding a 3rd husband would be risky. But the temptation was too great. She accepted, carefully plotting how she would handle 3 men without them finding out. One day, while shopping at the Ikeja City Mall, Aduke nearly ran into Beo while she was out with Jide. She quickly ducked into a store, heart pounding. It was a close call, and Aduke realized she needed to be more careful. Her web of lies was growing more tangled by the day, but she couldn't stop now. Beo began to notice that Aduke was becoming distant. She missed some of his shows, and he grew suspicious. One night, Beo followed her, but she was too smart for him. She led him on a wild chase through the streets of Lagos before finally losing him. Aduke laughed to herself, but she knew Beo's jealousy was becoming a problem. Despite her growing challenges, Aduke met another man. Chinedu, a wealthy importer from Onitsha, visited Lagos for business. He was captivated by Aduke's elegance. Chinedu was different from the others, traditional and deeply in love. Aduke was hesitant but couldn't resist the allure of his wealth and power. She married him in secret, making him her 4th husband. Tond's suspicion deepened, and he hired a private investigator to follow Aduke. The investigator gathered information, snapping pictures of Aduke with Beo and Jide. Tond was devastated when the truth began to unfold. But instead of confronting her immediately, he waited, determined to catch her red-handed. Aduke's perfect plan began to fall apart. She had become too comfortable, and the lies were becoming harder to keep straight. One evening, she accidentally called Beo by Jide's name. Beo didn't notice, but Aduke's heart raced. How much longer could she maintain this balancing act? Jide stumbled upon something that made him question everything. He found a love letter addressed to Aduke but signed by a different man. Confused and heartbroken, he confronted her. Aduke managed to calm him down, claiming it was from an admirer, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Chinedu began to wonder why Aduke always had excuses for not spending time with him. She claimed to be busy with family, but her constant disappearances made him suspicious. He decided to confront her directly, demanding to know why she was always so evasive. Despite the mounting pressure, Aduke found herself drawn to a fifth man, a wealthy politician named Sigan. Sigan was powerful and influential, and Aduke saw an opportunity to elevate her status even further. Against all odds, she married him, thinking she could still keep her other marriages a secret. Aduke's life became a whirlwind of lies and deceit. She could barely keep track of her own stories, and the stress was starting to show. Town's investigator had uncovered everything, and it was only a matter of time before all her husbands found out. The walls were closing in, and Aduke was running out of time. Town had finally gathered enough evidence. Armed with photos and documents, he confronted Aduke one evening. "Aduke, how long did you think you could deceive me?" His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. Aduke's heart pounded in her chest. She tried to deny it, but Town laid the evidence on the table, pictures of her with Beo, Jide, and Chinedu. Aduke's smooth talking failed her this time. Town walked out, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions. Beo had grown tired of Aduke's disappearing acts and her vague explanations. He decided to investigate on his own. One evening, he followed her to Jide's house. What he saw left him speechless, Aduke in Jide's arms. Furious, Beo confronted them, and a heated argument ensued. Aduke tried to calm the situation, but both men felt betrayed. She had lost control of everything. After hearing rumors about Aduke's multiple husbands, Chinedu decided to confront her directly. He cornered her at his house and demanded the truth. Aduke, caught in her own web, could no longer deny it. Enraged, Chinedu swore revenge. He was not a man to be trifled with, and Aduke knew she had made a powerful enemy. Sigan, the politician, was the most powerful of Aduke's husbands. He had his own connections, and when rumors reached him, he set a trap for her. One evening, he invited Aduke to a high-profile dinner, knowing that Town and Chinedu would be there. Aduke walked into the event, unaware of the ambush waiting for her. At the dinner, Sigan casually introduced Aduke to Town and Chinedu. The look on their faces said everything. Aduke froze as the tension grew thick in the air. One by one, her lies were exposed in front of Lagos elite. Sigan, enjoying the spectacle, watched as Aduke tried to explain herself. But there was no escaping this time. She had been caught in the act. News of Aduke's deception spread like wildfire through Lagos. The media picked up on the scandal, and soon everyone was talking about the woman with 5 husbands. Aduke became the subject of ridicule. People whispered about her in the streets, and her once glamorous life came crashing down. She could no longer show her face in public without people pointing and laughing. Beo, humiliated by the public scandal, packed his bags and left Lagos. He couldn't bear the thought of being associated with Aduke anymore. As he left, Aduke realized she had truly lost him. Beo had been the one who loved her without conditions, but her greed had destroyed that love. Now, he was gone for good. Jide, though deeply hurt, couldn't stop thinking about Aduke. He still loved her despite everything. But when Aduke tried to explain, Jide knew that he couldn't trust her anymore. He decided to end things, telling her that trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild. Aduke's charm couldn't save her this time. Chinedu was not a man who forgave easily. He warned Aduke to stay out of his life, or there would be consequences. Aduke, terrified of what Chinedu might do, stayed away. She knew that Chinedu had connections in both Lagos and Onitsha, and crossing him could mean serious trouble. The fear of what he might do haunted her. Sigan, being a politician, cared more about his reputation than anything else. The scandal was bad for his public image, and he quickly distanced himself from Aduke. He issued a public statement, denying any knowledge of her other marriages, and quietly annulled their marriage. Aduke was left without the power and wealth she had once craved. Aduke's life had fallen apart. She lost her homes, her husbands, and the respect she once commanded. Alone and disgraced, she wandered the streets of Lagos, thinking about how far she had fallen. The city, which had once been her playground, now seemed cold and unforgiving. Aduke realized she needed to change. She had hurt many people, and it was time to make amends. She sought out the friends she had abandoned and tried to rebuild her life from the ground up. But forgiveness was not easy to come by. She would have to prove herself worthy of trust again. Aduke decided to confront each of her former husbands, seeking forgiveness. She started with Tond, who had been the first to fall for her. He listened to her apology but remained distant. "You broke my heart, Aduke. Forgiveness doesn't come easy," he said. Aduke nodded, knowing she had to accept whatever response she got. Over time, Aduke began to rebuild her life. She stayed away from the glamour and deceit that had once consumed her. Instead, she focused on honesty and hard work. Lagos was still the city of opportunities, but now Aduke understood that true success came not from manipulating others but from being true to oneself. Years passed, and Aduke became a different woman. She no longer sought wealth through deception but through her own efforts. She found peace in living simply, far from the spotlight that had once dazzled her. Though the city of Lagos never forgot her story, Aduke had learned a valuable lesson. In the end, love and trust were more precious than any riches.